goes in and garbage that goes out in what's called education, and really started to learn. And I hope, and I think so. There were some amazing, everybody was absolutely fantastic yesterday, and we've already had some of the YouTubes up there viral. Guess which one that was? Yes, anyway. So, I just want to say a few things before we begin with Jivan Astfalck. Astfalck. Anyway, I have like an issue with name. I'm just going to call everybody Sam. So anyway, the first thing is that this conference was originally, one of the problems with academic conferences and conferences that are peer reviewed, and you have to tick all these boxes, and if you don't tick all the boxes, you don't get the money and all the rest of this kind of thing, is that they actually put on these gargantuanly high price tags for people to walk through the door. And I'm opposed to that, so we still put gargantuan price tags, and some of you actually paid for it, thank you very much. But a lot of you didn't pay, which is also fine, because I don't think if you can't pay, that should be no barrier to getting, taught. That's always been my view, and that's pretty much the view of the school here, and it's a view that I like to maintain. Having said that, what I'm going to say is that we had a little chat about it last night, and all the artwork, with the exception of Irene's piece in upstairs in the PS1, is for sale. And we'll have the price list out. Some of these pieces are going to be in the MA show in August, so if you buy one of those pieces, they have to stay here until the end of August. But it's a way of really paying homage to the artist. The school will probably take like 10%, so it's a very low gallery fee. So that's what we're trying to think through. And so if you're interested in any of the pieces, and they are very beautiful, and they're unusual, et cetera, so on and so forth, please don't hold back. If you don't have the kind of money that it would take to buy these pieces, we have a little donation box. It's a donation drawer. I couldn't find a hat, I couldn't find a box, so it's a drawer. And so as you come in, so a couple pounds is even great. Okay, that's enough of that switch. Okay, now, without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to have you listen to Jivan Astfalck, who, apart from her many sort of accolades, she is the director of a new center, the Center for Creative Making, parentheses, stuff. I really love the fact that the acronym has nothing to do with the title. So it has everything to do with the title, but not in the usual sense. Which is Sensuous Technologies, underpinning whatever the F is. Okay. You go, girls. Okay. So anyway, and it's out of the School of Jewelry, but it hovers into obviously the School of Art. And Jivan very kindly committed quite a large sum to help this conference happen. So first of all, thank you on behalf of the school, and thank you personally, because I felt it was really very courageous, actually, because not a lot of people have to play and do that kind of thing, so I appreciate that. The work that she has been involved with for a long time has dealt with this question of alchemy, transformation, but basically around the talisman. And you've probably read her abstract, so I'm not going to go into that. She's going to be on in a minute. But I just wanted to warmly bring her on stage and say, go on, girl. Okay.
let's just start with some pretty dancing steps. Rosa Rubea Homuncula. So within the area of metaphorical, and here's a word again, metaphor, symbolization, I'm interested in jewelry pieces that map out the demarcation lines where body meets world. A place or idea of a place where narratives are invested in objects with the aim to negotiate this gap, complexity, confusion, or conflict in relation to private and subjective mental experience. So my aim is to achieve an imagery of the unconscious and address symbolization by using metaphoricity to cross-map emotional investments conducive to new creative articulation and representation. And I start with this piece. This is the core piece. And this is the piece when decorated. And I brought it, and instead of having it in a show, I prefer that it travels through the audience. So you can smell it, touch it, but please don't take it apart. Alright, this is the necklace. So the materials, sterling silver is powder-coated brass breastlets that come from a domestic context of sewing garments. It was my teaching piece where I taught myself laser welding. And it has detachable pieces that can be arranged around the core piece in a variety of combinations. Fortunately, I haven't found steel press studs yet, so the piece is still sort of tenuous in its connections. However, the gemstones consist of 380 carat of AI, 203 synthetic raw and semi-finished rubies and sapphires. Rosa Rubea Homuncula references the making of a fictional and mythologized entity with its variety of possible combinations and compositions. It refers to the madness of the artist to make something living, or at least something which has the power to affect life. The making of the ruby, the making of the homuncula, the 10 years on-off clipping of decorative elements, and the transitional magic of a wearable object, where some of the passionate investment is situated in the construction of the narrative, so much so that at times the fictional interest overtakes the need for facts, and so questions the nature of scholarship as a kind of literature. These synthetic rubies and sapphires have been made using the AI 200C Bernoulli flame fusion method. The physical and chemical characteristics are the same as natural rubies and sapphires. Imagine 380 carats.
So no one's going to be buying that piece. It's too expensive.
So Bernard published his paper in 1904, making it possible for anyone with chemical and mechanical knowledge to reproduce rubies. The Renault process, the flame fusion, is a method to manufacture synthetic gemstones, primarily used to produce ruby and sapphire coronium. But there are also particular kinds of diamonds, sibilance, and the strontium titanate. The principle of the process involves melting finely powdered substance, similar to what you just saw in the basement, in the forge, finely powdered substance using an oxynitrogen flame and crystallizing the melted droplets into a boule. There are half boules. And what you see in the core piece of the necklace is a complete half boule of a ruby. Maybe I should also, so you can see. or opus chemicum, announcing the transmutation of vile metal into gold. But Rosa Rubea is also the essence of the red rose. And is here depicted as a homunculus, a crowned king. The image comes from symbolic homunculus from the Preciosimus Donum Dei, translated the most precious gift of God, an important 15th century work by the alchemist Georgios Aura de Argentina. The rose is an alchemical symbol, the symbol of the Virgin Mary, and in another symbolization, the rose's flesh, and the creative power embracing the cross that represents death and resurrection. There's another brooch, the dead rose. Creating the essence of the red rose. Creating the essence of the red rose, all matter that can decompose must be separated from the essence. The distilling process is complicated and difficult. I have tried. Because the material rots so fast. You crush a rose petal and the incredible smell you get is gone after only a fraction of a second, and it starts to stink. I brought you 2 bottles. One is a very old, over 10-year-old rose attar in jojoba oil. The other one is a new rose attar. So the differences on the smells are quite stunning. In the old, you can perceive just about the start of the rot. So have a go with your noses. It is very difficult to do anything with the rose to bring into jewelry. The rose that is traveling is silk rose that is silicone coated. I'm doing experiments right now, just trying to kind of make rose petals. These are in pure silver, and you can see there's, well, they're almost a breaking point. So, well, this is ongoing work to kind of try to create something similar. Similar to that. So, to move on from the rose, I take a step to the side, right? And I go back to 1510. And I introduce to you another alchemist. His name is Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa von Nettesheim. And he wrote his first book of the De Occulta Philosophia in 1510. And this is, unfortunately, this is a German translation. But it's still fun to read through. You can read it, yes. But I think it's also, I want to draw your attention to some of the graphics and in the back of the book. So, his book De Occulta Philosophia is a synthesis of Christianity and magic, interwoven with Neoplatonic mysticism. The book was very influential throughout Europe till the Counter-Reformation. In the book, Agrippa sets out to develop a methodology through which he aims to capture the energies of higher worlds with the aim to affect the lower. For him, this is not at all what God was doing. Agrippa is one of those very intense and interesting, multi-talented artist-scholar writers who one week is the best friend of the Pope, while next have to be on the run from one monk group or another to not end up on the stake for blasphemy. And of course, he was a goldsmith. So what makes him very different, writer, to many other sorcerers and devil students, as he called them, is the systematic collection and analysis of all available knowledge of magic of his time. Astrology, number magic, Kabbalah, angels, demons, spirits, necromancy, magic, ceremonies, omens, dreams, amulets, talismans, all of it. The other aspect which differentiates his scholarship from much of his peers is that he, as early as 1510, is conscious of embedded interpretation. He says only that the meaning is another than that what the naked letter offers. He distinguishes true magic from other superstitious nonsense through the proto-psychoanalytic belief that there is a power in the soul which, when passionate, is capable of affecting and transforming mensch and things. While the word translated into English means human being, the Yiddish word means a person of integrity and honor. You have to do a lot of work to become mensch. With this in mind, he designs sigils to attract, capture, use angels, and to ban, capture, manipulate demons. Figurations of duality, signifying energies outside of human control, and in this context not forces of nature, but of morality and power. Agrippa explores systematically the design development expedient to create objects which affect life, and if and when believed are, if you like, living objects. He explores the magical virtues of magic squares, each associated with one of the astrological planets. This is a page from the book, and you can see up here, this is a very simple one for Saturn. Very much liked by Masonic circles. And this is, for example, a much more complex one, and for me interesting one. It's the sigil of Hagiel, the planetary intelligence of Venus, and it's drawn on the magic square of Venus. Each Hebrew letter provides a numerical value, giving the peaks on the sigil. The sigils of spirits, angels, and demons are derived from the design method with which the magic squares are created. The letters of the entity's name is changed to numerical value, and lines are traced through the pattern. In the context of magic, magic squares include a variety of word and number squares found in grimoires, other textbooks on magic which teach how to make magical objects like talisman, amulets, magical spells, charms, and divination tools. Here's a really sweet one. This one is comes from a book called Black Kool-Aid. It's another grimoire, believed to be written in the 18th century. It's quite good. I do not mess with angels and demons. Too much respect. And I know from Rilke that ein jeder Engel ist schrecklich. Every angel is terrifying. But I cannot stay away either. So my first magic square ring I saw in a small museum in Tangier in Morocco. And then a few days later, in the shop of Mr. Kafka in Israel, I was able to buy one. And the other one I bought on Portobello Road. Where else? So, Islamic mathematicians in the Arab world knew magic squares since the early 7th century. And this undergarment I photographed in the Museum of the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul. It took a very, very large number of magic squares to protect this precious child. It is believed that magic squares originated in India and that Arabs learned about them and other combination of mathematics and astronomy when they came in contact with Indian culture. So I will not now talk about Sudoku. Even though when I prepared for this paper, I spoke with members of my family and friends who confess to be Sudoku addicts. The aspect of obsession and addiction is very interesting to me in this context, but I would like to follow this in a different way. In Sometimes a Great Nation, the 13th episode in the 4th season of Battlestar Galactica. Can I have a show of hands who saw Battlestar Galactica? Do we have a fan club here? It's almost a fan club. Okay, that's good. All right. So the fleet and its Cylon allies have united in a joint search for Earth. They encounter a devastated world where their expectations are crudely shattered by events that echo down the millennia from the original destruction of their home of humanity. Fighter pilot and warrior Kara Chase, called Starbuck, accompanied by the Simon Leoben, is looking for the beacon that has led them to Earth. They find the wreckage of a fighter plane with a charred corpse. Starbuck rips the dog tag necklace from the corpse to discover her own name and the sigil of an angel. Kara asks, if that's me lying there, then what am I? She does not say, who am I, but what am I? Why, in a moment of great distress and trauma, does she refer to herself not as a subject, but an object? And it seems to me that the switch here has been magicked by the necklace. In Daybreak, the last 74th and 75th episode of Season 4, a world to settle on has finally been found for humanity. After having said her final goodbyes and having indeed led humanity to safety, Kara disappears into thin air. What happened to Kara is left ambiguous in the film, but every fan who followed the carefully laid out signs along the paths of the story knows that Kara is indeed an angel. In the Lacanian perspective, we are who we are only in relation to other people. Our aims and desires are shaped by the desires of others, by interpersonal dynamics, social expectations, and prohibitions. Our knowledge of the world we learn from other people. The language we speak pre-exists us. Maybe that's why for those of you who speak English as a second language, like I have experienced, it is a liberation, or can be experienced as a liberation. And so our thoughts follow pre-established concepts and linguistic structures. A transcendental soul is denied, and the existence of self is questioned. The effect is that when we assimilate these social conventions, the pressure of instinctual drives appears to us as threat, danger, demonic, and including the ultimate impossibility to imagine ourselves dead and our flesh decomposed. Most, if not all, alchemical, transformative, magical, and spiritual tropes include a period where matter is separated from essence. As something is extracted, the ruby bowl, Thoreau's essence, and now Kara's necklace from the corpse. These things seem to me placeholders of an important and much deeper existential shift. The otherness of the image the subject perceives when mirrored creates a negative dimension in the subject's existence. I am never, in Lacan's thinking, fully myself. The relationship within which my ego, my I, comes into being is a relationship with an image that is not me, that is an unattainable ideal. Foucault asserts that Lacan has, in his reflections on subjectivity and the mirror stage, reintroduced into psychoanalysis the oldest interrogation and the oldest disquiet of the epimeleia. I think it's pronounced O2, but I'm not sure. Epimeleia O2, the care of the self. A most general form of spirituality, and specifically concerned with the questions of the price the subject must pay for being able to speak truth. This was actually taught in Greek schools, or rehearsed for training. Foucault defines spirituality as a method, or the methods of the subject uses to transform him or herself in order to gain access to truth. He describes the conflict between spirituality and theology as being the important historical issue rather than the conflict between spirituality and science. Foucault notes that a number of differences in the way pre-Cartesian and post-Cartesian systems approach the problem of acquiring knowledge and the notion of self-transformation. He describes this as a difference between the spiritual exercises and the intellectual method. In the hermeneutics of the subject, Foucault talks in one on the 6th of January 1982, first hour, about the care of the self and its modern replacement, self-knowledge. At the end of his lesson, he goes on to say that for the subject to have right of access to the truth, he must be changed, transformed, shifted, and become, to some extent, and up to a point, other than himself. And later he says, eros and ascesis are, I think, the two major forms in Western spirituality for conceptualizing the modalities by which the subject must be transformed in order to finally become capable of truth. He also asserts that the reactivation of spirituality foretells the return to ethics. Lacan's approach is for Foucault problematic insofar transformation is thought of in terms of self-knowledge and therefore the acquisition of knowledge, which relates to science or at least to scientific methodologies. To fulfill this function of spiritual transformation. We do not know how psychoanalysis could produce spirituality, though it must be other than purely through knowledge. For Foucault, we cannot have spirituality unless we acknowledge the sphere of subjective practice. For him, the subject is not substance, it is form. And its form, and this form is not primarily or always identical to itself. Foucault claims that the subject is a reality distinct from the body. Thus, the self-constitution of the subject is not the subject producing itself, but shaping what it already is. So to finish this, I quote from an essay that you can, in its complete form, you can find on academia.edu. It's by a writer called Mark Kelly, and it's called Foucault, Subjectivity and Technologies of the Self. And I quote a little paragraph. The subject then is something that is founded on a kind of ontological split between itself and the body, but a split that is only relative rather than substantial or absolute. Moreover, the subject can be said to lack self-identity, inasmuch as it has, because of the split, the capacity and tendency to change continuously, indeed to take on different forms even at the same time. It is always changing and always plural, giving it a distance from itself that allows it to work on itself. And to change, the last piece, to travel, start. Thank you.
We have just a few minutes before we can go to the AAS. So are there any further questions at the moment? We'll all have them a little later. I mean, I think that I just want to mention that we have a journal called Zatesis, and Zatesis is from the thesis of
You saw Starbuck to
Starbuck just died again. Anyway, and it's taken from Foucault's Zatesis, meaning research driven by curiosity.